on my computer only. So again, I want to welcome everybody. My name is John Knott. I am N4JTK. I'm the president of the Orlando Amateur Radio Club. I'm kind of the one that started. I was asked to if I could accomplish this task and get a form together with all the candidates so everybody can hopefully make an informed decision. If you are on camera right now, you can actually turn your cameras off, save your bandwidth. So that way, if you have any connectivity issues with Zoom, you don't get bumped out of the meeting and stuff. So just turn your cameras off. If you are going to ask a question, we might have you turn your camera on at that point. But for now, just go ahead and turn your cameras off. The moderators will turn theirs off, except for Bill, and the candidates will keep their cameras on. Um, and first, let me just say, Bill Yell, Kilo for India Bravo Yankee, will be the moderator for tonight's forum. Bill was first licensed in 2015. He retired in 2019 after 40 years in the utility industry. And Bill currently serves as an officer of the Huntsville Amateur Radio Club and the North Alabama Repeater Association. So I thank Bill for taking this task on tonight to be the moderator, while the rest of us kind of make sure that everybody gets entered and there's no any other issues. So Bill, it's all yours, and thank you again.
Okay, thank you, John. Appreciate that. We thank you, all the folks that are joining us tonight for this forum for a very important election that we have coming up here with ARRL. Tonight, we have four candidates that have put their names in to run for the Southeastern Division Director. Mickey Baker, my, N4MB, current Southeastern Director. He's an extra class. He resides in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. Jim Kvochick, former Michigan section manager. He's also extra class, resides in Homosassa, Florida. Scott Roberts, KK4ECR, is the Northern Florida section manager, also extra class, resides in Orange Park, Florida. And finally, Tom Schafer, NY4I, extra class, and he lives in Clearwater, Florida. Give you just for those coming on, just a little brief. The ground rules will be each candidate will be given 3 minutes to make opening remarks. They can talk about themselves, what they do, what they plan to do with if they win this election. Then we're going to have a series of questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to those questions. We're going to go in alphabetical order. We'll rotate in alphabetical order. Then at the close of that, we will have a 3 minute closing remarks by each candidate. Now, at the end of each question, I will ask any of the candidates if they have a response or something they need to add, and they will have 1 minute to do that. So that's how the timing and the ground rules will flow. And so we're going to get started right now. Now, some of the questions, thank you all for submitting questions. We've been going over these for several days. Some of the questions I actually will list my first name and call sign, the person who submitted it, and read the question. A lot of the questions came in. There were things that were very similar, so we've kind of combined those into one or two different questions as we go along. So, first question, and this will be, well, excuse me, I'm sorry, not first question, opening remarks. I'm a little ahead of myself there. So, Mickey, N4MB, you go ahead with your opening remarks.
Thanks for the introduction, Bill. My audio okay?
Good.
All right, good. In my 6 years of service as your director, I've never missed a board meeting. My voting record shows a consistent commitment to supporting member opinions, and I've not hesitated to speak up or vote against actions that I believe are wrong. I oppose the ethics rules changes passed last year that brought us here and have you do a forum rather than us converging on social media. As 2 years as chair of the Ethics and Elections Committee, I saw firsthand how these complicated rules were used to disqualify candidates, rules that, in my opinion, unfairly protected incumbents and discouraged new voices. We need clear, simple, and fair standards, not rules that rig the process. I've been a strong advocate for youth and amateur radio. I supported funding for youth programs, including the Teachers Institute and free associate members for those under 18. I also initiated an award for Ken Lyons, if you know him, who was the first combined scouting and ARRL award that has been awarded in 12 years. And I pushed the ARRL to reimburse the $35 fee for new licenses under 18, new licensees under 18. It was my idea and passed as my motion. These efforts are about making sure young people see a place for themselves in amateur radio and using the ARRL as a vehicle to get there. I support the scholarships and strengthen the ARRL Foundation. I drove the initiative to make the CEO a voting member of the foundation, ensuring accountability and avoiding unnecessary expenses by hiring outside people and bringing them in to work for the foundation. When it came to finances, I voted against the way the dues increases were handled. Members who had already paid for the magazine were denied the magazines they expected, and I felt that was unfair. While I agreed dues did need to rise, I strongly disagreed and argued against how it was implemented. I vote each year in favor of lobbying for the HOA bill. I'm on the Administration and Finance Committee this year and most years, and I've fought every year to keep this issue alive because I believe there's still a path forward, but we do need to keep pressing, as you've seen from the recent communications we've made. And structurally, I believe right now the size of the divisions is badly out of balance. My division has 13,000 members here in the Southeast Division, while some divisions are smaller than 3,000, smaller than even a single section in Florida. Florida alone has enough ARR members to stand as one of the largest divisions in the country.
Time.
Small divisions rarely see contested elections. That's it?
Yeah.
That's time?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, Jim, you're next.
Well, thank you very much, Bill, and also thank you to the three clubs that put this whole event together. It's very, very important that you get a chance to hear everybody, and it'd really be hard for all of us to travel to all those spots at one time. It would be a dizzying schedule at this point in time. I'm Jim Kvochick, KJK. I'm an ARRL Life member. I've been licensed significantly more than 50 years, but we're not going to talk about that. I have seen many technologies come and go. In fact, I've been an active and thriving technologist inside of the amateur radio sphere. It's easy to argue that amateur radio shaped my entire career. In fact, I can actually, when we have a lot more free time, I can talk about the number of opportunities that came my way simply because I had a ham license. It was a very amazing time. About 4 years ago, I relocated to the Florida geography because of a very large project that my firm had asked me to take on. After we completed it, my wife said, I'm not going back to Michigan. So we didn't go back, and here we are. I've worked in person across all 50 states. I've worked in 30 or so countries, physically boots on the ground, and I've interacted with dozens and dozens more countries around the globe. So I've spent a lot of time doing a lot of things around the world. I served as the section manager, as Bill mentioned, in the state of Michigan for a number of terms. It was a fantastic opportunity. Served as a club president there, also an assistant EC, CERT team leader, a variety of other capacities, and also mentoring to other amateurs, especially youth amateurs, was just tons of fun. I bring a lot of things to the table. That I'm taking from my recent retirement as leading projects and programs for a very large company. And I look forward to having the opportunity to share that with you. So with that, I'll actually end early. Thank you, Bill.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Scott, your time is starting now.
All right, great. Thank you very much. And I am really glad to be here tonight. Thank you for taking the time to join us. I'm going to share one slide. I've got a very important ask, and that is for those of you that are on tonight, please take the time to go to this website and help us get this legislation passed. Mickey alluded to this earlier, but it is very important that we protect our hobby and the ability to put up effective antennas and to help with public service. So your signature makes a real difference. I'd like to thank you for jumping on that and going to that site and signing up. So my name is Scott Roberts, KK4ECR. I've been a licensed amateur since 2011, and I love the hobby. And like many of you, I'm totally hooked. I late night rag chews, digital, parks on the air, field day, public service, emergency communications, all of that. I'm hooked. Check into nets regularly, help with marathons, and really love it, the whole spectrum. And amateur radio has changed my life, and I'm running because I want to help people experience that same spark that got me involved and that keeps me involved. And I want to champion the things that keep our service strong by hands-on learning, reliable instruction, vibrant clubs, and transparent, responsive leadership. So here's what I've got planned. In the first 30 days, I want to listen hard and act fast. Division listening tour. I want to do virtual town halls all across the Southeast Division, where everybody's voice gets heard, and we'll schedule them very regularly. I want to fill the open gaps. If we have positions that are open or positions that need more qualified people in them, I want to get those taken care of and get those done so that the organization is serving the members the way that it should. Clear, concise communications. I want to relaunch our division website. I want to push out timely updates so that everybody gets the information in a timely manner that they need to be the best amateur operators that they can be. First 60 days, I want to keep those input channels open. I want to get a standard feedback loop going so that if you've got something that you need done, you can get the information in and it doesn't die after one meeting. We keep it going. We want to get youth involved in STEM program. We want to get all of our members to partner up with local schools in their areas and youth groups to help put radios in their hands and get curiosity for them to get back on the air. I want to help get clubs to collaborate, joint events, portable operations, friendly contests, parks on the air, which a lot of people do that. We want to increase that and get it more.
10 seconds.
And then in the first 30 days, or first 90 days rather, we want to build momentum that you can hear. We want to reverse a membership decline that we all know is happening, and we want it to be targeted. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Final, Tom. Your time's starting.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. First, thanks to John, especially, and the moderators and the Orlando Amateur Radio Club, Huntsville Amateur Radio Club, but the Atlanta Radio Club for putting this on. Greatly appreciated. I started as an amateur radio operator in high school. They made an announcement that there was a amateur radio class that they were having, and I had been interested in CB when I was in New York, and I had just moved down from Florida, or to Florida, excuse me. And I started, and that, when I received my license, and still in high school, when I went through it, I loved DXing. I loved operating at night in my room. It was just great fun to do. I loved code. I loved just everything about operating. The interesting thing is I can actually draw a direct line from my interest in amateur radio in high school through to my career today. And today I own my own software company, and it was because of that intellectual curiosity that amateur radio cultivated in me that opportunities were presented. And it has been a lifelong endeavor. And one of the reasons I run is to give back. One of the reasons I do a lot of things is to give back, because I don't feel I can ever repay that debt. I am currently the president of the St. Petersburg Amateur Radio Club. I founded Upper Pinellas Amateur Radio Club, and those are all in Pinellas County, west of Tampa. And so I've been very involved in local clubs and putting on events and having the clubs working in schools and working JOTA. And we have my next door neighbor, as a matter of fact, is a teacher in the attended Teachers Institute, and we work with her high school. So there's all kinds of things that I have loved to do within amateur radio and working with clubs, because I believe clubs are the single greatest asset we have. I am, as far as the ARRL goes, Thank you. I am a life member of the ARRL. I'm in the Maxim Society. I support the ARRL a great deal. I have no problem supporting the ARRL. I like to support the ARRL, but I'm enough of a friend of the ARRL to say, hey, we have some things we need to fix, because that's what friends do. Friends tell you the truth. And I want to continue I want to take the knowledge that I have in working with teams, the boards on our clubs, and I want to take that knowledge to combine it with my technology knowledge and programming and development, as well as my experience working on the board as a board member of nonprofit companies, to extend that and bring it to the ARRL. And that's what I'd like to do. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm going to set my timer to 2 minutes for our question period. Like I said, a lot of in your opening statements, you did touch on a number of things that we'll be asking within questions, and that's good, but you'll be able to expound more on those. So, Mickey, we will start with you with the very first question. This came from Lisa N3WQL. What is the most important thing you want to do as division director?
Well, thanks, Lisa, for the question. What I think is what everybody else has hit on, how I originally got elected back in 2020, is we have to get youth involved in the radio hobby. We have to replace ourselves. When I joined the board in 2020, there was only one Teachers Institute session. This year, there are 17. And by 2026, there'll be more than 25. That's real progress. Now we should build a similar program for clubs, giving them the skills to recruit, engage, and retain younger members. Activities like scouting partnerships, satellite contacts, and balloon launches capture imaginations far better than just another de-expedition talk at a club meeting. Hands-on activity is the future of amateur radio.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Jim.
Well, and it is a good question, and I have to dovetail a little bit on Mickey's comments as well. Youth is unbelievably important, and we do need to replace ourselves, because you probably had noticed many of us are getting a little older. Communications, though, is one of these big nuts that we have to crack, and unfortunately, communications is not an event; it's actually a journey. We are blessed. We have an awful lot of talent here in the Southeastern Division. Lots of great people that can do lots of wonderful things. Together, I believe we can tighten up the communications between not only our division and the ARRL, but our clubs as well, so that we can start sharing this information more readily. I think Mickey touched on that as well briefly, the notion of we've got to enable and empower all of our clubs to do great things. I have to agree with Tom too. Clubs are very, very important, and I'm a little surprised that this is the year of the club from the ARRL perspective. I thought every year was the year of the club. I think the club is the most important asset out there. So I stole your line, Tom. Sorry. And that'll do for right now. I'm sure we can talk more later. Thank you.
Okay, Scott.
So I think the most important thing that I can do as division director is make our members' voices drive the decisions that are made through transparent, two-way communication, so that I'm listening and relaying information back. I'm taking the information that I'm hearing from our members in the Southeastern Division and taking those to the board and making those voices heard. There's a lot of great advice and opinions that people in the Southeastern Division have, and that needs to be delivered properly to the board at ARRL, so that the right decision can be made that will benefit each member and benefit ARRL. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All righty. Tom, your turn.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Most important thing I can do is I tend to be a little bit like a dog with a bone in some respects. And I say that when there's issues such as communication, which I agree is an incredibly important communication issue for us. And I can work with other people to affect change. And what I mean by that is sometimes if you simply go out there and throw out ideas that nobody likes, and you're not going to get anywhere. You have to be able to work with other boards. You have to be able to work with other people and push things forward to ultimately get your motions approved. I think it's incredibly important. I'd also very much like to change the sort of philosophy on communication. I'd like to switch things around from a communication is what do we have to tell people, to switch it around to say, look, we're going to tell people everything except the stuff that is obviously confidential that we can't tell people, legal, HR, and marketing strategies and things like that. But I'd like to switch it to where we get much more communication into the inner workings. I'm one of those people that read the minutes completely. Every single board meeting, every single executive meeting I read. And the number of times I read it, and I'll read a minute and I'll go, wait, what else happened? What else happened? And I want to know what else is going on. And part of that is it would be great. We can't all be in the room. So we need to get that information so we know what's happening and we understand the ARRL and the process better, because that's the only way we're going to get buy-in to what the ARRL is doing by the members.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. We'll move on to our next question. And Jim, you will start out with the answers here. And we got a couple questions about growth in amateur radio, some on the club level, some on youth level, and some on ARRL level. But the first one is going to be more about clubs. We know that the local clubs are the lifeblood of amateur radio. Some are growing, others are not. What can be done to grow club membership that you can help out with?
And that is a really good question. And if I had the magic answer for that, I would probably be a hero. I think it's also a journey, and I think we need to be capitalizing on the clubs that are successful and understanding why they're successful. What are they doing differently? I'm a member of the 3 closest radio clubs in my geography right now. All 3 of them simply parrot on each other's behavior. They have a meeting, they show YouTube videos, and we go home, and sometimes we get snacks. I think there needs to be more to a club. Now, a couple of the clubs are trying to break away from that. I think the most important thing we need to do is we need to change our posture within ourselves, within our communications to the league, within our clubs. We need to make that posture better. Rear Admiral Dr. Grace Hopper, who I had the chance to actually sit down to dinner with personally, once said that the most dangerous phrase in the entire world is, "We've always done it this way." We need to break that mold. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Scott.
So I think that one of the most important things is look at all of the things that ARRL can do for clubs and provide resources and activities. Some of the things that we've done in our local clubs have been catered more towards the younger folks, the youth and the younger folks, to get them interested. They're more interested in how things work and not necessarily they like things that are computer based a little bit more. So, hey, how does this computer hook up to the radio and they can send a message across? So including things for the younger generations, getting involved in our schools and taking programs to the schools would definitely help that, and doing a lot of things that get our members more interested in the hobby and encourage them to bring in younger generations.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Tom.
Well, as a current club president, this issue is near and dear to my heart. We fortunately have a club that we've grown. We are currently at 142 members in the St. Petersburg Amateur Radio Club, and we've grown that by about 15, I think it is this year. And putting on interesting meetings and interesting programs is a really important thing. And I think it gets people recognition of people at the meetings and what's happening. And one of the things that something happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I was actually at the Hamfest in Gadsden, Alabama. They had a Hamfest on Saturday morning, and I drove up there. And a gentleman came over to me and he said, "Hey, I understand you're the president of a club." I had my banner up and the whole bit. He said, "I understand you're the president of a club." He goes, "I'm struggling for programs." And he said, "Do you have any ideas for programs?" He told me what he did. He said, "We've had a presentation on CW and a couple of other presentations." And I gave him a couple of ideas that we have had, from a mobile installation contest, as well as what we call homebrew night, where people bring in their projects. And just in that little interaction, that short interaction, I gave him information that he could actively take back to his club. He told me, he said, you got my mind racing with all the possibilities of that. And I think if we put on really interesting programs, as well as we need to have some sort of mechanism for us to share those programs. And it could be local people that come in, but if a club president is struggling for programs, they need to know, where do I turn to find people? You can call it a speakers bureau if you want, but where do I turn to find people that can help me do presentations? Because I always believe you have to have a great presentation for your club meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Mickey, your turn.
This is a great question. What I find, and I go to a lot of club meetings as well, as you might imagine, the clubs that are successful and that are growing exponentially are the clubs that go outdoors and operate periodically, if not every month. The fastest growing clubs in Florida that I'm aware of have a group that goes to a park once a month in addition to their regular meeting. They don't conduct business there. And when they do conduct business, it's a short meeting. They say, gee, we have a 30-minute business meeting, and they meet. If you're trying to recruit younger people, the worst thing that they can do is go to a police department or a library or a hospital and go inside a closed room where they walk in, open the door, and they see a bunch of people that look like me. I'm, an old guy with gray hair, and we sit down and we look at a new radio, and I'll go, "Oh, gee whiz," and they don't know what the heck's going on. But if you stand, yep, 1 minute, okay. If you stand up in a park, you stand up an antenna, you're going to get some attention from people that have never seen amateur radio before, and sooner or later they're going to ask, "Well, how can I do this?" After you sit down and show it to them. Public parks, expositions, periodically, and sometimes I do it on my own, like a lot of the podium people do. But you got to take time to meet the people and do it publicly.
I appreciate it. Okay, thank you. When I just got reminded that I have not asked for anybody to have responses. So the first two questions, does anybody have a 1 minute response to anything that they said? I think Scott, you got your hand up. Okay,
Yep.
Go ahead.
So on the second question, one of the things that was in my mind that I didn't get out was the one thing to do is have mentorship in the club. Elmer's work wonders, and have people in the club that these new members can that they can mentor and they can learn from and get spent time with, so that they understand the license that they've got and why they've got it and what they can do with it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
Yes. Well, Jim had his hand up, but I have a response to question number two.
Go ahead, Tom. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, sir. So one of the things that both Spark and UPark do, the Upper Pinellas Amateur Radio Club does this more. We actually call it UPark in the Park. And we actually take and go out and do POTA activities where we encourage people to bring their own POTA setup so we can help them deal with anything there. And so I think that's a great event. And the other thing we do is actually we have a 3-club field day. And because it got to be where people were getting older, they couldn't put up any antennas. So we said, hey, let's just combine them. We had a great location here in Pinellas County, and we do a 3-club with the Clearwater Amateur Radio Society, Spark, and UPark as well. So we do a multi-club event. So we really do try to use multiple people to multiple clubs and do what we can.
Okay, time.
Thank you.
Okay, Jim, you had a response.
Yes, I did. Really quickly, Barry pointed out on the chat that the ARRL does more than just clubs, and I think that's the other part of this whole education process around clubs, to make sure that everybody understands what the ARRL does. I'm surprised that people don't know some of the things that the ARRL does, which is kind of amazing to me. But nonetheless, it's out there. The other thing I wanted to leave you with is that when we're talking about growing, we can't set aside the group of people that are 30-some years old. We're starting to see a little traction out of those people because they're now past getting their family started, getting their career started, and they want to dive into this hobby that they may have tinkered with at some point in time. That's what I wanted to add. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. I apologize for not having asked that, but I'm back on track a little bit. Okay, the next question is, Scott, you'll start out. ARL has designated 2026 as the year of the club. How many clubs are you a part of? Some of you guys have already mentioned that, but go ahead and redo it. And how do you get them to work together to build the amateur community? And Scott, you can start.
All right. So locally here in Northeast Florida, I'm a member of two clubs that I'm very active in. And then I have family in other states, and I'm members of the clubs in those states as well. But for the local clubs that I participate more in, the one thing that we do is we hold regular functions that get people outdoors, setting up antennas, setting up radios. We participate in winter field day and summer field day. We'll do a day in the park. We do special events for local community clubs like run clubs, walk clubs, things like that, and get our folks to practice. And we encourage them to bring somebody with them who's not active or as active as they are to get them interested in it. And we've had a lot of people that they've increased their participation in our activities because they've been invited out and they've seen, hey, this isn't hard. This is fun. Oh, this is really cool.
1 minute.
Oh, great. Hey. And so by doing those things and by getting the clubs to interact with each other, you get really good ideas. Plus, the programs at our meetings are things like how to build an antenna, how to care for your radio equipment, how to safely store batteries, just different things of interest to the members that they're going to want to hear about. Thanks.
Okay. Tom.
Thank you. I am, as I've already mentioned, I am a member, I'm the president of the St. Petersburg Amateur Radio Club in Pinellas County. I am the founder and past president of the Upper Pinellas Amateur Radio Club. I'm a member of the Clearwater Amateur Radio Society, and I am also a member of the Utah Amateur Radio Club. When I lived in Utah, I was president of UARC, and so I maintain a membership in UARC as well. Of course, I suspect most of us are members of FCG, so I won't count that, the Florida Contest Group. But as far as joining the clubs, that's kind of what one of the things I mentioned, I'll expand on a little bit, and that is that in doing the field day events, where we do both winter field day and summer field day, and we do that as basically a committee of people from each club, and we put everybody together, and each club pays a percentage of the food bill and things like that we need, and we do that kind of based on the number of members in the club. So the bigger clubs pay a little bit more and the smaller club pays a little bit less. So we really encourage people. Interestingly, we have a lot of members who are members of all the clubs as well. So it's probably, maybe, as a matter of fact, I have my tri-club shirt, which is the three clubs on it. We do. So there's a lot. We have members who are, since they're members who are all, they kind of see some things. They're working for all three clubs in that respect. But I think having the club event, doing joint club events is a really good thing because not each club has the secret, and it really encourages us to get information and knowledge and experiences from other clubs. It also lets us help smaller clubs. So one of those clubs is much smaller than the other two. So it lets those other two clubs help the smaller club and help them with their programs and bring them along as well.
Okay, thank you. Jim.
Well, and that is a good question. In fact, I saw it on the question list earlier and was struggling to how to really answer that succinctly. It's kind of complicated. I'm a member of 3 clubs here locally, as I already mentioned. I'm also a life member of 2 clubs in the Michigan area who still manage to drag me in every now and then for a variety of things, usually over Zoom. My biggest success so far is I've gotten all 3 clubs to use Groups IO mailers, and they're now discovering that there's life outside of their club and that they might want to interact better. Now, all the clubs are doing field day and they're doing winter field day. They're doing those events, but we got to do a bit more. And again, we got to think outside the box and do a bit more. So I've actually floated the idea of maybe we should get together and do some of these outings together as a group. And at first, that seemed did not go over super well, but they're slowly but surely warming up to the idea. So it's a matter of changing mindsets, and it's a matter of looking beyond what you always did, because you always did it this way. So now we're asking you to do something different. So it's an interesting set of challenges, one that I'm willing to face. I love a good challenge.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Are there any? Did I catch everybody? I've kind of lost my place in it. Okay, Mickey, I thought I'd missed you. That's what I just want to double check. Go ahead, Mickey.
I won't let you forget. That's a good, this is a very important. I know their clubs are very important, but this is what I do when I travel. Like in the summer, we go for a lot of camping trips, and I might find myself in somewhere far off like Kentucky, and I will run a Chat GPT query that says identify any amateur radio clubs within 50 miles of my current location. I think that would be a good, and it's something I've suggested that we probably will do, thing to put in the ARRL website. I'd like to be able to find very easily how to find club meetings around where I am. When I travel throughout the Southeast, I do find the club meetings nearby, and I've dropped into a lot of clubs. Maybe I've been to a club meeting where you are. And I go in and I do not preempt the program, but I participate. And if they want to go out and have a
1 minute.
something after it, I'll go out with the crew after that. I've met a lot of people that way, may have met some of you that way, but I'm a member of 3 clubs that I pay for, and the South DX Club and the South Florida DX Club.
Okay. Any response for anybody? Okay. Okay. Next, Tom. Now we talked about clubs. Now let's talk about ARRL in general. We received a number of questions concerning the declining membership in ARRL, and it has been somewhat significant. So from Ron, W4RFA, what is your solution to declining membership? And Tom, we start with you.
Well, thank you very much, Ron, for the question. I'm not so bold as to say I have the absolute guaranteed solution to that problem. I think what I do know is that we don't really know exactly why that is. Now, certainly anecdotally, we can say, well, it was the dues increase or the QST change. We can go through a list, but the number of people who I have talked to who said, or send me emails that said, yeah, I decided to take a step back from the ARRL. I decided to, and they could not believe that they told me when they did this, they could not believe that they actually did this because they had been a member for so long that the idea that they would not continue, it was just, to them, they even found it amazing that they would, but they chose not to. And they chose not to do that. And we, again, anecdotally, we may think we know why, but it's not clear to me that we have an absolute understanding of why everybody's leaving. We certainly need to make sure we are as relevant as can be. I heard one mention about a website, and one of the things we could really do is to add a multitude of tools to our website, because we talk about young people, and guess what they use? And as I do too, but I'm in the technology business, so that's kind of my job to use the internet and the World Wide Web. So we really need to make it where it's just an incredibly great internet experience for people using for anybody, including youth and other people that want to get more information.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mickey, your turn.
Well, I guess everybody has this impression that it's going down 20% a month or something like that. The last numbers I have are from July 31st, and I ran I actually had to put this together myself. There's no way you can go look at it on even the internal website of ARRL. But since the dues increase, which was in January of 2024, since then, that is from December of 2023 until July of 2025, the membership is down 13.9%. And the last time we raised dues was in 2014. It dropped 13% before it started going back up. So we are a little bit more than a regular dues increase would do. And I do attribute that to the loss of the magazine, the way we treated people when we do that, which was terrible. And I railed against it. You can ask anybody that was in the meeting. But that is, we also have offered new student, anybody under 26 can be a member for $30 a year without QST. So we're trying.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, Jim.
I forgot the question. Can you repeat it?
Yes, I'll repeat it. I will repeat the question. Basically, the question is concerning ARRL membership. What would be your solution to deal with the declining membership?
Yeah, and the why I forgot the question was I was trying to figure out how to piece some of the parts of the answer together. I've talked to Mickey before about this, and I've talked to others at the division level at the ARRL, and I know that the numbers look really bad, but we're faced with a couple of really big challenges here. One of them is that the younger generations are not necessarily joiners. So I don't know quite how to massage that. And I'm sort of hoping that we can get a lot of group thought around that inside the division, because joining is just not one of those things. Among the older populations, I've discovered, as I already mentioned, that many people don't know what the ARRL does. In fact, I wrote an article on my blog some months ago. In fact, it was published in the North Florida section newsletter. The title of the article was "The ARRL Does Nothing for Me." And it was actually very received. In fact, it's been copied in a number of newsletters. In fact, I invite anybody to copy anything off of my website by all means and use it appropriately. But I don't have a good answer, but I know we need to do something, and I'm sort of hoping that the collective resources in the division will help guide us, because as Mickey said, we're the biggest division out there. We should be setting the stage for what goes on. Thank you.
Scott, your turn.
So I don't think that there's one answer as to what can be done, but I think there's a lot of pieces to a puzzle that if we put them together properly can be done. The one thing is that we need to help educate the members as to what the ARRL really is. A lot of people feel that ARRL is simply a magazine. And it's that, but a whole lot more. It's our advocacy. I mean, we've got that example by the HOA advocacy that's going on right now to get legislation through the government for HOAs. It's protection for that for our spectrums. They work on that all the time. They work on telling us what do you need to do to work with the best equipment. They test equipment for us. And the other part of it is we as members, not just as division directors or section managers, but we as members need to find out from the members what they need the most from ARRL. And that communication and two-way communication is very, very important in that respect.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have a response or in addition to that question? If not, we'll move on to the next. Now, the next one is connected, and we've mentioned it. It's been mentioned several times. As you say, we're an aging hobby. I think the last thing I saw, the average age of a licensed amateur radio operator in America was around 67, 68 years. So we've got to get, if we hope to continue it with this hobby, we've got to get younger people in. So the question I have, and Mickey, we'll start with you. What are your ideas? And a lot of you have touched on this a little bit, but let's be specific. What are your ideas to get younger people interested in amateur radio?
Well, I'm going to raise an issue here that a lot of people are not going to agree with, but I've brought it up in front of the board and we're looking at it very closely. There's a large increase in radio use by families by using FMRS and GMRS. In Chattanooga, Tennessee, they have a combined amateur radio and GMRS net, which is probably illegal the way they do it, but they use repeaters on GMRS. And there are no repeaters allowed on GRMS. They do it anyway. People do it anyway. It's pervasive throughout the country. I believe that we as ARRL should not repeat the mistake that we made in the 1970s where we ostracized all the CB guys and told them to go pound sand because you're just a CBer. And we should embrace the GRMS community, help them gain the right to have repeaters, which we believe we can do, and then move forward as an associate member at least, or maybe a special quality member of GRMS licensees.
Okay.
So that's a way to grow.
Okay. Jim.
That's a wild question, and it's to dovetail a little bit on what Mickey was saying. There's a lot of radio clubs. In fact, one of the clubs in Michigan, because they were directly connected to CERT, had a GMRS presence as well as an amateur radio presence. And slowly but surely, they were convincing people that amateur radio might be a fun thing for them to do. I like the notion of families. I like the notion of getting families involved. We got our grandkids involved in amateur radio because we showed them what fun you could have with FRS radios, but then we showed them what real fun you could have with an amateur radio. My wife is licensed as well, so we were able to demonstrate that on a wide basis. I think we just got to market better. I don't think we market as well as we can. And I applaud what Mickey's been trying to do in front of the board. In fact, I read the board minutes too. And although they don't say it quite as eloquently as he said it tonight, but I think we got to get outside of the box and do more with, I think even educating the CB community and also the free band community isn't a bad idea either. There's a bunch of people that have more ham radio gear in their shack without a license than many of us do. So I think we have a lot of work to do, and I think we have the collective brain power to do it. Thank you.
Okay. Scott.
So, wow, I mean, that's a great question and a wild question all in one. I think that one of the things that can be done is think outside the box on ideas of things to do to get the younger generation involved. A lot of the younger generation likes science. They like space and satellites. So show them how they can communicate with the International Space Station or use a satellite to make a communication with another station. We've done that at Field Day, and that attracts the biggest crowd of anything. We've done a lot of different things, like participated in a lot of the school club roundups where you get the kids involved, and when they find out that they can send their mom and dad an email over the radio that doesn't touch the internet until it gets to mom and dad, they're super excited about it. Or the fact that they can pick up a microphone and talk halfway around the world to somebody they've never heard from before, or never talked to, and learn things about countries that they've never seen to or never been to. It really starts to generate interest in the younger community. So that's a good way to get them involved. Just think outside the box and find things that they like that attach to radio.
Okay. Tom.
Bill, would you repeat the question? Just make sure I have the whole thing, please.
Yeah, yes, I will. What are your ideas to get younger people interested in amateur radio?
Okay, thank you. Thanks for repeating that. So one of the things we do every year is the Jamboree on the Air. And the Jamboree on the Air is, as you will probably all know, with the Scouts. And we have a great group of, it's Scout Troop 12 in Lutz, Florida. We have a great group over there. And one of the things we did was to try to figure out, hey, let's do a hands-on project where they can actually do something. Because I think one of the worst things we can do when we show amateur radio to kids is say, here, come here, watch me make this contact, or watch me do this, or watch me do that. It's like, that's pointless. It needs to be engaging. needs to be something they're doing. So we brought cable out for just wire out for a dipole. We brought some PVC pipe and we made a dipole literally the way I made it when I was 15 years old from in my backyard, where I took the center insulators with the for the dipole from the PVC, made 2 end insulators, took some coax and soldered it on. Did we put a ballon in there? No. Did we put anything in there? No. So but the thing is, the kids did it. They measured it out. The older kids soldered it, and we actually had them take it. They took the antenna outside, strung it up on like a jungle gym or a playground thing, and they took a QRP radio out there and started making contacts. They were there for 2 hours making contacts. The smiles on their faces you can't replace. It's so fulfilling to see kids actually doing that. And when kids make contacts, when we've seen them inside where we have the other stations where kids go in and they contact somebody, they're on the microphone talking to somebody across the world or across the country to them during JOTA, the smiles are incredible. And because they really enjoy it. The last thing I'll say about that is I think she was probably 6 or 8 years old at the time, but I had a straight key just to let kids send their name in Morse code. And I had a little chart to show them how to do it. Then I also had a paddle. So thank you. Sorry, that's a great story.
Okay. I believe that's every one of y'all answered that. So any response, any addition to that question?
Tom, you could finish your story. Go ahead.
No, that wouldn't be the spirit of the response. So I won't do that.
One quick thing. I believe that what Mickey said about, and Mickey, you can correct me by all means, but I believe what you were trying to say was they don't offer linked repeaters in GMRS. They don't offer repeaters at all in the FRS service, but they do offer GMRS repeaters. GMRS repeaters are there. And there was some confusion in the chat, so I thought I would help clear that up for you because I care.
That did come up in the chat. Yes. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay. Jim.
I've got one.
Yes. Okay, Scott.
I've got response. So another thing that we can do is in Southeastern Division, the vice director happens to work with the collegiate group. And so not just the younger kids, but the collegiate group would know about being part of and getting involved a lot more than some of us that have been in the hobby a whole lot longer or that are considerably older. And they would be able to help out in that respect also. Whereas when you have somebody that's younger that's already involved, you help be their voice and help them push it. And then it's not just young people, but it's people who are new to the hobby because they could be considered young because they're brand new to it. So we need to do the same thing for them as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next question will be going to Jim at start. This is a question about ARRL operations. How are ARRL dues used in daily league functions?
A good one, and I think the most qualified person to answer that question on the call is probably Mickey. But I'm going to take a stab at it. I did spend a lot of time with the ARRL staff during my time as a section manager. Every dues dollar goes into the operational involvement of the ARRL. It goes to everything that's happening there in terms of keeping the lights on, making sure that the equipment works, making sure that people are getting paid their salaries for the full-time employees that are there. I know that the ARRL has gone out of their way to reduce the number of full-time employees to basically a significantly smaller number, which was a good thing, right? But they still have to spend money for pencils and paper and things that you and I might be able to find another way of acquiring. So there's an awful lot of expense involved behind the scenes in the wonderful world of amateur radio. Like I said, I think I'm not qualified to do a detailed line-by-line answer, but I do understand the concern about where the money's going, and I do understand the spirit and intent of the question. And I think transparency is key to that. And I think everybody else here who's a candidate agrees that transparency as much as possible is key. I think that's what we got to strive for.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Scott, your turn.
Wow, I will agree with Jim in the fact that I don't know that I'm the right person to answer that question accurately. However, I will say this. I do know that, like Jim said, it does cost a lot of money to run an organization as such and to do all of the um, advocacy that they do for us, and to keep things going. The dues supplement and enhance the budget, and the league needs to move to sustain that. So they're always looking for consistent funding models where they can have consistent money coming in to keep the organization running. Again, communication, transparency, being fully open with the members as to what is going on with dues is crucial to make it work correctly.
Okay. Tom.
Thank you. Well, I suspect many of us have experience running businesses, and we understand we have taxes and insurance and paper and all kinds of things like that. So that's kind of a common thing that we all have when we run a business. And so I think everybody expects that, and everybody probably would understand that. And unless you're spending a ridiculous amount of money on paper or something like that, but I think everybody probably understands that. I think one of the things we can really do is measure the returns on all our investments. And that means not only the amount of money that we're putting into different programs that dues are funding, but we also have questions on what are the investment returns. And we know the ARRL does a really good job of documenting their returns in the annual reports, for example. The biggest problem right now is the last annual report is from 2023. And that's probably because of the ransomware attack, but that's pure opinion. So if we need a little better understanding of what's happening. And now keep in mind the annual report isn't necessarily going to tell you where your dues dollar goes, but the question really has to be, do we have that level of transparency that we know what is being funded? And what is the return? Are we using the money wisely? Because ultimately, I don't want to presume what somebody asking the question, but I suspect one of the big questions people ask is, are we using the money wisely? Are you good stewards of the money? Are you getting a good return on that investment? Because it's our dues that we're sending, and we want to make sure it's being used properly, just like we would for any other organization we support.
Okay, thank you. Mickey, your turn.
Okay, let me enlighten you guys. As Jim said, there is a financial report every year. I believe that 2024 has, I can't find it on the site, but I've seen it. Basically, our operating income over the course of the year is between $13.5 and $15 million generally. That's where it is now. I think I'm looking at 23 right now. It was 15,324,000. Our expenditures in 2024 were 60,500,000. The way we make up the difference is because of our assets. We do have about $40 million in invested access. About 30% of that is not encumbered, that we could take out and spend on anything the board voted to spend it on. But we're all frugal about that. We do not want to take away, the future, which is what we would do if we start chopping that. So that's what the numbers are. Most of that is payroll for programs and services. About a third of that is for publications and other administration and the administrative staff.
Okay, that's it for. Are there any responses?
I have.
Okay, Tom.
So this is sort of an example of something, and that is, I actually went and I said, you know what? Let me make sure I have this information right. I went to the website, the annual report section, and I looked for annual reports, and the last report I see is 2023. So here's the thing. If we do have a 2024 annual report available to the public, that is not obvious on their website. It's certainly not in the pages that have the annual reports listed. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm not saying it hasn't been shared in other ways, but it's not available on the website, i.e. it's not available to anybody who goes to the website to find it. So that's one problem. And we really need to, we need to sort of say, hey, you know what, that hack was long enough ago that we're done with that. That's now, let's move on. Let's stop blaming things on the hack because it's time to move on. And so that's my response.
Okay. Okay, I think I got Scott and then Jim.
So you may not be able to find an annual report for 2024 on the ARRL website, but you can find the 990 that's been filed at the end of the year, and it should have already been filed already for the end of the year. So it should be available online. It won't be on the ARRL website, but it would be available on the government IRS website.
Okay, Jim.
I just wanted to add one somewhat humorous comment about this whole thing. I think what the germ of the question is what the CTOs that I work with an awful lot often use as a phrase: is the juice worth the squeeze? Are we actually getting our money's worth? I think I just wanted to add that because that was a cute comment.
Okay. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. By the way, we are 1 hour in, so we got one more hour. Of course, we'll have to stop in plenty of time for y'all to have your 3-minute conclusions. Okay, another ARL based question. And Scott, you will start this. And this question came from Andrew KK4LWR. What do you think ARRL should look like by the year 2030? How do you think it should look like by the year 2030 to best serve the membership and to facilitate amateur radio communications? Scott, your turn.
Wow, that's a great question. And really, if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing now as members, we won't even have to worry about section managers and division directors. But if we're doing what we should be doing as members of ARRL, we'll be bringing younger people into the hobby. And so we should be seeing a much greater proportion of younger people in the hobby as to the older. It won't be a perfect line, but it'll be an increase if we're doing what we're supposed to and bringing new people into the hobby. It's kind of hard to say what it's going to look like because every organization changes differently. What I would love to see is the age of amateur radio operators go from 68 to 48, so that there's a lot younger of a group in there as well. But I think with every every nonprofit organization that's member driven, it's based on how much the members put into the organization itself.
Okay. Tom, you're next.
Okay, so the ARRL by 2030, that's really a fantastic question. One of the things I do believe we absolutely have to have is a world-class website. I think people should be able to go to the ARRL and use the incredible body of knowledge that the ARRL has. And the problem is finding it. The problem is we have ways we can go search for things. We can search through previous QSTs online and archive things and like that. We have the information, the technical information service, but all this information that's out there, we really just need a great way to share it. And I really hope that by 2030, because that's just a few years away, really, by 2030, we have a system where we are we just have a great website that people can use. Because as young people, I think it was at Huntsville, in a room in Huntsville. Somebody mentioned somebody had said to them that, hey, I can't go pay on. They wanted to be able to pay with. I forget. They wanted to pay their dues with some mechanism that they use, and they weren't able to go pay with that particular mechanism. So I think having a website that is, yes, as somebody said in the chat, that is usable for friendly things, or excuse me, for mobile, user friendly for mobile installations would be really good. And so I think having a great website that we can use this information, there are so many things that we can do and we have to make happen. And I believe that I'm just picking on one thing as a website, and having whether it's no matter what it is, there's just a long list of things that and again, I support the ARRL, but I also am willing to say, hey, the emperor has no clothes in some cases, and we need to fix some things.
Okay. Thank you. Mickey, your turn.
Well, I couldn't agree more. The hack, let me tell you what the hack did to finance. It destroyed everything they had electronically to the point, and they had no backups. All right, that's the truth of the matter. It has taken until March, April, May this year to recover the financial system. They had to do it by putting transactions back in from the paper. Okay, so that's inexcusable, and I don't think they're going to do it with the current IT mindset. If you really want to know what I said on that, go look at my presentation to the Southeastern DX Club about a year ago. Not much has changed since then, and that would cover my opinion on it. I'm not happy about it, but as a member of a board with 15 people on it, that's about all you can do is complain, and you got to pick your battles.
Okay. Jim, your turn.
Well, I got my crystal ball out. Actually, it's a crystal diamond, so I got my crystal ball out to look at that 2030 thing. It's a and the only guy that laughed was Scott. That's it. The embracing the notion of making communications make the entire globe of the ARRL look transparent. It doesn't make any difference if I'm in the Southeast Division or the Southwest Division. It shouldn't make any difference. Making that information sharing seamless, easy, make it grow. I've been down this road before. I worked with a technology. I worked as a technologist on behalf of another company that was an appliance manufacturer that made their own boxes. They made their own cardboard boxes for years, and then they suddenly realized, after I said, "Hey, why are you making your own boxes? Can't you just buy them?" And they suddenly realized it's sometimes better to farm that technology out. I think the ARRL has discovered that because they've moved Logbook of the World and other essential systems to a a a business level service that worries about backups, that worries about things like that. I think we got to be more member driven, and we need to probably be more virtualized as an organization. Why is Newington, Connecticut have to be the headquarters of everything? Why can't we have some people operating outside of there, even though they happen to be full-time staff members? I think we need to get more creative, not do the same thing over and over again. It's all about communications, doing something new. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody have a response? Scott, I see your hand up.
So I think that one of the really important things is that we keep a positive attitude for change, and we are humble about the fact that we need to make change, and we're open about the changes that need to be made. And I see that seeking feedback, that seeking feedback from the members, and responding to it properly is key to make any organization, especially the ARRL, successful by that time frame.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, the next question Tom, you'll start out. We received a number of questions concerning ARRS, Amateur Radio Emergency Services. This specific question came from Kenneth K4SJR. A lot of people think that ARRS they have a feeling that it is broken. So, what will you do to support amateur radio emergency services? Tom, you start.
Thank you. Well, it's not surprising. It's surprising they have a feeling ARRS is broken because our CEO has written a QST where he put in there the statement ARRS is broken, talking about a previous statement he made. So I cannot imagine where somebody would have gotten that idea. That I don't think that's true. I think I have seen in this campaign, I have talked to so many people about the about what they do. They've been interested in, and they talk to me about all the different things that work for them. Some people are in this for, some people love the DX like I do and contests, and some people are into it for ARRS and emergency services. And while I'm not as I don't do that currently. I've been in a shelter during hurricanes when we've had that situation happen. So here in Florida. So I certainly am aware of it. And I had a great discussion because I realized that, hey, there's more information I need here. So I had a great discussion with the ARRS person over in South Florida. And he told me all the great things that they were doing in Brevard County. And I said, wait a minute, how is it possible we don't know about this? And it goes back to the communication elements of it, that there are ARRS groups that are doing incredible things, including mesh networking, by the way, which was specifically pointed out as no ARRS group is doing mesh networking. So they're doing great things. We just, problem is we're not getting that information from the field up to Newington and then sending it back down so everybody else knows what's going on. And more importantly, that Newington and our CEO understands what people are doing, that yes, they actually are using not Meshtastic, but mesh networking. So it's really important that we understand that the world is bigger than we may think in our small little view of it, and that there's ARRS groups are doing incredible things. And does it need help? Everything needs help. We need to support it better so we give them what they need.
Time. Okay. Sorry about that. Let me shut that off. Mickey, your turn.
Okay. We need to position ARRS within the overall scenario of emergency management. We're not doing that well. In some places you have, like the guys in Brevard County that are doing a lot of different things. You got to remember that that's the home of Harris. That's the home of a lot of radio frequency people that can do good things. And the government there, who manages emergency management, the last time I checked, chooses who they want to work with. And if you're in Palm Beach County, you're not going to get an EOC if you're a ham. And I was a CIO for a large city in Palm Beach County, and I couldn't get hams at all inside the EOC unless you already worked for the city. The place to position ARRS is outside the EOC. We're not going to trunk EOC to EOC traffic because Starlink has got that wired down. Starlink and their competitors, I realize they have some competitors coming. What we have to do is build relationships with our government entities. And that's the way we do this. In order to do this, again, you're going to go back and have to take all the ICS courses and become certified in the actual FEMA courses. That's not a lot of stuff we've had success with. Training is not a big thing with ARRS people generally. Thanks.
Okay. Jim, your turn.
It's a very interesting question. It's a very serious question. And you're right. The CEO of the ARRL used the term broke. And I would just say we're not marketing effectively. It's like there's an old line that says, keeps food fresher longer is another way of saying makes food rot slower. And what we're up against here is the needs of the served agencies that we've traditionally served as part of our charter, as the FCC set out, where we said we would provide emergency communications to the public. That need has changed. And the dynamics have changed, and how we have to operate has changed. Our own marketing messages. I was looking at the chat here, and somebody said, yeah, we need to market better. You're right. The slogan, when all else fails, is only from 2005. We might want to think about changing that. In fact, I was excited that on the ARRL website now they have the slogan, ready, responsive, and resilient. I think that's cool. That's like, we got to get out of our way of using the same old things. And to the point that Mickey made, we've got to train, we've got to educate, we've got to get a little smarter. ICS isn't a bad thing, but it may require us to do things slightly differently. So it's not an easy problem to solve. We have a lot of bright people that can do a lot of good things to help us make this happen, especially in our division. We have a huge collection of resources. Thanks, Bill.
Okay, Scott, your turn.
So ARRS is one of my major passions. I got my amateur radio license because somebody piqued my interest in ARRS and being able to serve the community. And so, do I think that we could make improvements in ARRS? Absolutely. And all three of the other respondents so far have hit different pieces of it. It's all about relationship. If you're not building relationships with your served agencies, your emergency managers, your sheriffs, your fire chiefs, with local hospitals, if you're not building those relationships, then the system is broken. We don't go in there to take over. We go in there to help. At our EOC, I activated for several hurricanes, and I've done everything from mopping floors to answering telephones to using the dispatcher's radios to using amateur radio to using a telephone.
1 minute.
So we don't have to go in and just use our ham radio. We need to go in and serve the agency the way that they need to be served. And if we're not doing that, then yes, ARRS is broken. But if you build a relationship properly and you go in with a servant and a humble attitude, the system works.
Okay, thank you. Any response from you, from anyone?
I have one as well.
Okay, Jim, I got you, and then Tom, you're next, right?
Thank you.
Right. The response that I have is that I do agree with Scott, and I hate to do that, but I'm going to have to. I do. Thank you, Scott. So Scott laughed again. That's great. My days as a stand-up comedian are very numbered at this point. The other big problem though is that many of the emergency managers we've come to know and love, many of the people that led those facilities are retiring. We have a new crop that we have to re-educate. So we can't lose sight of the fact that we have to keep moving forward. I just wanted to put that out there as an additional comment. Thank you.
Tom, did you have a comment?
No, I'm good. Thank you. That takes me.
Okay. Anybody else? I will say, as a side note, working as a manager in the utility industry for 40 plus years, ARRS was and is very close to me. If you know anything about Huntsville, Alabama, we are a tornado magnet. I've worked many tornado events, and I've actually seen a couple come right by my house. So that's really one of the things that really got me into amateur radio was ARRS. So we need to keep that. That's a vital tool we need in the community, very much so. Okay. We're going to move on. Mickey, this will be your question to start off with. It's on the front page of the ARRL website. What will you do to help in the effort to have Congress pass the Amateur Radio Preparedness Act? Mickey.
Well, the first thing I'll do is I will continue voting to fund it. One of the things you don't see behind the curtain is that there's a lot of argument from people that live in places that are not the Southeast, where they don't have a lot of problems with HOAs, supporting that to the tune of $400,000 a year. And that's what we pay to it's one of our largest non-personnel expenses. $400,000 a year go to lobbyists. There are law firms in Washington, D.C. who know people and get us in front of Congress critters. And that has been working really well. Senator Roger Stennis from Mississippi he may decide to, if we get these petitions in his hand, to attach this to the defense appropriation bill. And if he does that, that's going to pass, and they're going to appropriate money for defense. So that's our latest, and that is why that's what we're working on, and that's what we do. Keep feeding it money to the political machine.
Okay. Jim.
It is a very interesting multi-sided question. In fact, I successfully navigated we picked a house in the middle of an HOA that had antenna restrictions. I successfully navigated those by using the FCC OTARD ruling, the on-the-air receiving devices, because Aren't all amateur transmitters also receivers if they're transceivers? I mean, hey, was able to argue that. I have 7 antennas up outside. As long as they're not visible from the street, they're all happy. So life is good. But we got to move that forward. I think Mickey has done the right thing. We need to educate all of us about lobbyists and what they do. In fact, my next article on my website and my personal blog is going to be about lobbying and what it is, what those mechanisms are, how they really work, what really happens. We are in danger of much more than just this preparedness bill. We are in danger of losing frequencies little by little. As one of my colleagues used to say, death by being pecked to death by a duck. You know, it's 1,000 cuts of people taking little nibbles of frequencies away from us. So there's a lot to this, but I honestly think that the ARRL is working very, very hard towards that right now. I'm actually very pleased that they are. It's a challenging and grueling task, but it has to be done. Thanks for the question.
Scott?
So I started off my opening comments with pushing the website for that. I'm doing the same thing with all of our local clubs, anyone that I've talked to. As a matter of fact, I was at a luncheon yesterday with a candidate that's going to be running for Florida governor and was in conversations with him about it. He didn't even understand and know what the bill was about. And so everywhere that I'm going, I'm already talking about it and pushing it and getting people here's the website. I've got it saved as a QR code on my phone so that if I walk up to somebody, hey, if you're a ham radio operator here, you can go right to this website. Everything that we need to do needs to be promoting it in every one of our meetings, on every one of our nets. As a division director, I would send it out to the division like many of our divisions have done and make sure that it gets pushed out, not just once, but multiple times, because people don't always read their emails. So I would do everything that I could to make sure it got in front of every one of our members.
1 minute. Okay. All righty. Tom.
So when I went to the Centennial Convention in Hartford in 2014, they were drafting signatures asking us to sign a petition, if I remember correctly, to support the current HOA bill, the Protection Act. It's had a few names in that name. So first of all, let me say that I wholeheartedly support that. We've advertised that as much as possible in our club. My club is working on drafting a letter as requested. At our meetings, we bring a computer and let people go sign up right there. If they haven't signed up yet, they can just go sign up. So I think it's really important to have people sign up, because that is the current plan to try to pass this. And I do believe we have to, at some point though, we have to also be willing to measure the effectiveness of everything we've done since 2014, because we've been down this road. We've been down the road of trying to tie it to the defense appropriations bills a couple times. So none of that has worked so far. So we certainly have to go through and figure out why. Now, as far as lobbying, our $400,000 is laughably small compared to what people in the property managers associations and also the spectrum industries that are going to want spectrum. That's pocket change. That's entertainment money. So we need to figure out, and it's got to be the people in Washington to tell us how to do this, because we're a smaller organization comparatively to these. So we have to figure out what is the way they're going to help us figure out how to get the people in the FCC that understand that, hey, amateur radio is an important thing that we want to sort of hold sacrosanct and protect it, because it's not clear to me we're going to do that on our own in the future.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any responses from any of you to that? Okay, Mickey.
I'd remind Tom that of the history of the bill. The bill was canceled by the board in 2019, the year before I joined, because there was a legal analysis that said that an HOA could allow us to only put up one antenna, and they would specify what it could be. It could be a quarter wave on 440 megahertz, and then that was it. That's all we could do. So Fred Hobegarden has written a bunch about that. I'd suggest that you read the stuff he wrote about that and how it has changed since then. And this is a completely different bill with different content.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we're going to move.
Can I rebut my own?
Yeah, you can rebut your own.
Certainly I'm well aware of what Fred's written, and I will say that I made no statement that it's the same bill. I'm just saying that the first time I encountered it was 2014. We've been at this a while in different incarnations, and we're going to continue to do this one. And depending upon what happens, we have to be willing to say, hey, wait a minute. If it passes, that's fantastic. But if it doesn't pass, we have to be willing to say, okay, clearly, what are we doing wrong? Because it's been a long time. We've been trying to do this and we're not getting ahead. So how do we figure out the way forward?
Okay, thank you.
One,
Yes, okay. Jim, yes.
one real quick thing. I will share the slide deck that I used with our HOA about getting permission to put my antennas up. The humorous part of that was when they came out to inspect my Gray Line Performance flagpole, they looked at the two wires going to the antenna and said, "Oh, that must be for the lights on top." And I said, "Of course, yes."
Okay. All righty. Next question, and this we'll be starting with Jim. And I'm kind of, for the sake of time, we're going to combine a couple of questions here. What will you do for us to help fight the scalping of spectrum by big companies? And with that, what is the current threat situation to our existing frequency allocations, and how should we continue to fund and defend our posture? Jim, you're first.
I actually mentioned some of that in the answer to the previous question. We are getting pecked to death by ducks or death by 1,000 cuts at this point in time. People want the most valuable thing that we have is spectrum. Everybody wants it for a bunch of different reasons. Under no circumstances do you think that any frequency is safe. There are people who are looking at the low end of 20 meters, or the high end of 20 meters, rather. There are people that are looking at even 40 meters. Nothing is safe at this point. And those people have money. They're also using us against us. What I mean to say is they're actually using our behavior on some of the other frequencies that we all know and love too well, to point out to the lawmakers at the FCC that do these people really deserve these frequencies? Come on, give me a break. So that's a huge problem, and we have to overcome that. We collectively have to be smarter than this. We've got to change our approach, and sometimes it's going to be quite an interesting step to make that happen. But it's not impossible. We can do it. We have the capability. Thanks.
Okay, Scott.
Well, the one thing to do is to keep paying our membership to ARRL, letting their lobbyists help lobby for us. But not just that, but we need to educate our people on the proper use of our frequencies. Just like Jim said, we've got to, they listen to us on the radio, and if we don't sound professional, or we just sound, I don't know what the right word is, but we don't sound right, they're gonna, hey, look at them, they're not using it right, they don't need it. And they're going to try to find better use of it.
Okay. Tom.
Thank you. I'm not the Washington expert. While I worked in Washington for 3 years, I wasn't involved with this stuff. So I need to rely upon what the people that are the experts tell us. All I have is my opinion, and my opinion is we are not going to lobby our way out of this problem. I do not believe that is ever going to happen where we can ever spend as much money as I said before. So the question is, if we don't make the case to the people that matter and that are making the decisions, potentially making those decisions, if we don't make the case on the value of amateur radio, and that can't just be us going in and talking to somebody there. It has to be receiving things not only from, hey, please pass this bill, but it has to be them getting things from constituents that explain, hey, you know what? We're involved in amateur radio, and during this emergency, I was able to pass this message from here, and that helped me. Maybe that worked. Maybe they need an amateur radio for that. Maybe they didn't. But the reality is we have to get information into their offices so they understand the value. also at the FCC. I don't know the numbers of hams we have at the FCC anymore. Back when it was the Wireless Telecommunications Bureau, we used to have hams, and they were really good at supporting amateur radio and sort of really held it in a special place, and because it was important. And I think the one last thing is my biggest concern is the idea that they have all this frequency. We just want a little part. And that's the argument that we really need to be prepared to defend against, because it's tough to make that case when we just talk about, well, yeah, we need all this part, and we don't need to. We need all these bands just because, and we need to make the case on what is that because, and why do we need them?
Okay, thank you, Mickey.
Hey, this is something I'm pretty well versed in. We do have an ex-FCC, a retired FCC attorney, as our representative at the FCC in Washington. His name is David Siddall, and he's another person I've become personal friends with over the years. Right now, we have only two threats, only two scalps going on. One is the HF trading stuff. That's the high end of 20 meters that you hear. Ed Hare, who was once the director of the lab at the ARRL, researched and wrote a beautiful paper of how that's going to hurt us. Just that piece of spectrum up the end of 20 meters, how the byproducts would trash the 20-meter band. He did it. He made some experiments and some measurements within the band of the stuff they were doing. So, and we presented that to the FCC as part of our comments. It's on the FCC comments, ARRL comments. You can read that. The other one that's real is a request for 430 megahertz for I believe it's a European company, Belarus, I think, one of the small countries over there, for their ships to operate with a satellite up and down for control. It's just really for at 430 megahertz. We've opposed that. We actually have studied in Europe where they're using the stuff, and the ground curium is almost negligible. We don't think it would hurt us even if they implemented it, but we are proposing it. We are opposing it.
Okay, gentlemen, do we have any responses for that question? If not, we're going to move on. This question, and Scott, you will be the first to take it. This is a specific question for Florida, but it could become an issue in other areas. And this question came to us from Wayne WB9ZPY. Since all of you are from Florida, specific question. What is wrong in going on with the Florida repeater coordinating?
Okay, ask that question one more time, please.
Okay, I'll ask it one more time. What is wrong in going on with the Florida repeater coordinating? Scott.
Too many chiefs and not enough Indians. No, it's that there's people involved. And when humans get involved, they don't agree on things. And they're just having a hard time agreeing on how they want to do the coordination and who's going to do the coordination. That is one of the checklists on my box of things that need to be corrected, and proper positions that need to be filled. There's just a lot of things going on with it where they're just not responding timely to any request, if they're responding at all.
Okay. Tom.
You guys realize that Brian is in the chat? Just let you know. Anyway, so I will say I have my I'm the trustee of the W4AFC repeater in Palm Harbor, Florida, and we coordinated our pair quite a while ago, and we submitted the information. We actually did a short spacing agreement with TARC, and that all worked out. And so that's really, I think that might have even predated FASMA. And so we have a system out there. We use our repeater just fine. And when I want to find out other repeaters, now granted, I'm kind of able to do this. I can take the I can take the file that I can download and I can parse it any way I want. I actually load it onto the Spark website so we can look at all the repeaters in a table form if we want, but that's just something I do because we have the tools to do it. But I don't personally, I haven't tried to coordinate a repeater in a while, so I don't actually have any, I can't comment on that. I just don't have any current experience with it.
Okay. Mickey.
Repeater coordination is not an ARRL function in any way, shape, or form. We have nothing to do with it. We've never had anything to do with it. If you're in Florida and you want to talk to the repeater coordinator, reach out to Brian Fields, W9 Charlie Romeo, who is on the chat, and I'm sure he'll be responsive to you.
Okay. Jim.
He stole my line. I was going to use exactly the same line. Doggone it, Mickey. Just kidding. I do think FOSMA is a really cool acronym. I'm into acronyms, so I think that's a pretty cool acronym. But I got to share with you that I was, when I lived in Ohio, a member of the Ohio Area Repeater Council. I was, when I lived in Michigan, a member of the Michigan Repeater Council. All repeater councils have similar problems. It's a challenge. It's probably more pervasive down here because there's a lot more people down here. Therefore, the notion of a lot more repeaters exists. But I have to agree with Mickey. It's like, yeah, I think we'd love to help, but I don't think any of the four of us can actually provide a lot of good, solid input.
Okay.
I might be overstretching my boundary there, but hey.
Okay. Any response from anybody?
I do have one response.
Yes, Tom.
I think while I completely agree with the statement that the ARRL is not involved in coordination, if I'm not mistaken, and I am completely willing to be wrong on this one, if I'm not mistaken, back when the ARRL had the repeater book, I really thought that some funding went from the ARRL as based on copies of the repeater book back to the different repeater councils. I actually talked to in Alabama. The section manager also is the president of their repeater council. And so we talked a little bit about that, and that was one of the things that he brought up. So I'm pretty sure it's accurate information. So so I think, while yes, the ARRL is completely not involved in it, there also was a little bit of, I can understand why people have that impression because they might be talking about, the ARRL in certain ways when it came to funding based on a percentage of the book.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Anybody, Mickey, do you have, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. That no longer happens. All right. We don't send money to any of the coordinators themselves. We send money to RFinder, and RFinder sends it to if there's any money that changes hands, that's not, again, not our business, but we do pay RFinder for their list for the repeater directory. And that may or may not continue because we are competing with them.
Jim, you got your hand up.
And I would second that comment as well. And Tom, yeah, it did happen because I was a member of both repeater councils when they did get funding, but it's been a very, very, very long time ago, and it's I'm not aware of any funding that's exchanging hands with anybody at this point in time.
Okay. We've got just a couple more questions, time for just a couple more questions. So, Tom, this one is, I believe, coming to you. It's a question concerning the SEC. We had several, but what changes or improvements would you like to see done to the FCC licensing and renewal process? Tom.
Well, thank you for the question. One of the things I'd like to see from licensing standpoint is right now there's this sort of ambiguity for me anyway as a volunteer examiner. I'm a VE in several different VEC's programs. And one of the things that's interesting to me is we have the idea that one VEC, Laurel, will have the VE team sort of be their representative and their eyes to look at the paperwork before it gets submitted into the system. And that's one of the reasons, that's several reasons, but Laurel has a pretty low cost, and because zero cost essentially, and they can because they have it's a pretty streamlined operation. So from that's strictly on licensing. I think we really need to look at with the amount of electronic filing, especially as the ARRL's VEC goes to electronic filing. One of the things we're going to have to look at is how many people are doing that, and are there efficiencies that those people can go do something else or what have you. But I don't know the answer to that yet, and that's something a few people have asked me to look at if I win. So I think it's important. I would like it to be where we understand this sort of uniform agreement, because my understanding always was that the VEC representative needed to look at the paperwork and submit it. But when you go to electronic, that kind of goes by the wayside. So who's checking? And just as long as we're all operating underneath the same rules, then we can have efficiencies. So I think that's important.
Okay. Mickey.
We're using a third-party vendor, as you probably know, for our online testing. Right now, between 25 and 30% of our testing is all done on testing and grading and everything it does online. It produces the exact output that the FCC wants, and it goes as an XML upload to the FCC, and we file the forms for a prescribed length of time, and then we destroy them. So we don't have to keep all that paper. So that to answer the budget question, as I recall, just shooting from the hip, I believe the entire cost of the 4 people that work in the VEC is under $400,000.
Okay. Jim, I believe you're next.
It's a very interesting question. I'm actually a member. I'm a W5YI VE. I'm a ARRL VE. I'm a Laurel VE, and it's like all of them do excellent work. It's great that the ARRL has caught up to the electronic transmission world. I mean, we've been able to do tests with Laurel and basically get the results back the evening that they took the test. It's been an awesome experience, and I think that facilitates the notion of getting, especially younger people tend to be a little less patient than some of us that might be a little bit older. It's nice when they get instant gratification and get a license right away. So I actually think we're heading in the right direction with this. I still think that licensing and testing still should be a requirement. And I think the ARRL is getting much better at it. I'm actually thinking that's one of the things that we probably shouldn't try to break at this point in time. Thank you for the question. I appreciate it.
Scott.
So I would agree with the same thing. Don't fix a system that's not broke. It's sort of fixing itself as it goes. Technology has definitely helped with licensing, so I think we're definitely heading in the right direction. I am a VE with Laurel, and we do tests multiple times a month. And the fact that people can sit at a computer, take their test, and know instantly that they hit the button that they've passed or not, and that they get their license either the same day or the next morning is a huge jump in what it was even when I took my test and got my license. So we've come a long way in 11 or 12 years with the technology, and I think it's headed in the right direction. There's not a lot that you can do. I wouldn't change licensing. I think that we still should have licensing. I think the levels of licensing we have are fine. I think we ought to leave it just the way that it is.
Okay. Any responses?
I have one response.
Okay, Tom.
Sorry. So I think it's interesting, and it's interesting to look at the number of people who say they give tests for Laurel, a number of people who've left the ARRL VEC. And you know what? I don't really care if anybody, it doesn't matter to me which VEC someone goes to, as long as they can easily find a test session, take a test, and become licensed or upgrade. That's really all that matters. And it shouldn't matter to us either. Shouldn't matter whether it's the Laurel VE or any other VEC or ARRL VEC or anybody else. And I think that's however, we have cases where people, because they'll see, well, hey, I don't pay anything with Laurel, and I do that, and I have to pay this with the ARRL. So that's obviously not sustainable. So we need to figure out what that is and what that new cost structure is, if it needs to be changed. Or we figure out how Laurel does it and duplicate what Laurel does.
Okay. Okay, gentlemen, we're down to one last question, and then we're going to have your closing comments. Now, I'm going to break ground rules just a tad on this one. And I'm going to, because I think this is almost for you, most of you be a yes, no. So I'm going to move this to a 1 minute response, if you will let me do that. And we're going to start with Mickey. Will you support reinstatement of the QST magazine with membership, not as an extra fee? I'm going to give each of you 1 minute to respond.
Yes, if we can cover the cost. Right now, it costs over $1 an issue to print a QST magazine. So I would, if we wanted to go up on dues from 59 bucks to 62.50, I think that would cover it, and I'd be happy to do that. But again, that's going to increase the overall dues. As you can see, our income does not equal or surpass our outgo. And believe me, I have that discussion with Mr. Minster all the time. I keep telling him he needs to develop an austerity plan and get below our income for the output. But that's where we are.
Okay. Jim.
I have to agree with Mickey. If we could support it economically, I would be all for it, and I would be backing it 100%. But I do need to add that many other organizations are going to all electronic stuff. The organizations that are not, a couple of the organizations that I joined, they publish a lot of mostly ads is what it amounted to, because they're trying to cover their printing costs. I mean, that printing is a huge thing. There's a lot of pluses to using the electronic versions of things. Plus, we can all look at QEX and several of the other publications without an additional fee. But I would support it because I do understand that people would love to have the magazine in their hands.
Okay.
Thanks.
Scott.
So, yes, I would support it. However, we have to realize, like Jim said, that a lot of organizations have gone digital. And in the case of ARRL, we've gone from one physical magazine to where you can get 4 digital magazines in the same package. However, I would, if we could cover it, I would push getting a printed magazine, because it's great to have. I would get them and read them, but then I'd give them away. But we have to understand that the cost behind it. If you look at organizations like AOPA, membership with a printed magazine is $85. If you go with IEEE, membership is over $200 with a printed magazine. So you've got to look at the weight of the cost of printing on paper versus having it digital. And yes, we are moving into a digital age, and a lot of organizations have done that. My wife is in real estate, where they used to do. Okay.
Thank you. I'm not going to ask for responses on this one because unless
I haven't gone.
Tom's got to answer.
Tom's got to answer.
Tom.
Thank you. So,
I'm sorry, Tom.
yeah,
I apologize. Yeah.
No problem. Ready?
Yeah.
All right. So I think this is one of those questions where, do you support X or Y? Like everybody, of course, is going to say yes to that answer. The question is, how do we do it? And so that's of course the $64,000 question, so to speak. So I think it's interesting to me that yes, I do support that, again, if we could figure out how to pay for it. The challenge is, I think, kind of how the way we're doing it. We have asked people, hey, switch to digital QST. And oh yeah, by the way, you're going to get these other magazines as well. But if you poll, I suspect if you polled all 76 people left on this call, most of them would say the online QST interface is not the greatest thing in the world. And so what I end up doing is I'll just take the PDF, I download it as a PDF, and I look at it and I do it that way. And so, we certainly need to make that easier, where people can use those magazines. You look at
Time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, gentlemen, we are now going to give you the opportunity to make your closing comments. And I'm going to, you get 3 minutes, and I'm going to put into your closing comments an actual question. And I think this is what is coming from everyone within on this Zoom meeting in this forum. Why do you deserve my vote? So, Mickey, we're going to start with you and give us your closing comments. You got 3 minutes.
Thank you. Well, why do I deserve your vote? Uh, I wish I had a paycheck, you know. As much time as I put into the ARRL directorship, it's just amazing. I've been doing this now for 6 years, and I've made a lot of contacts into and out of the ARRL, as you guys can probably tell. I know a lot about the inner workings of the ARRL, and that is equity for you to bring your issues forward to the rest of the board of the ARRL and affect change and prevent change that's just plain dumb. I've covered some of them in my opening. The rules for this, that we can't talk to each other on social media. People can attack me at social media and say anything they want to, even though it's not true, and I can't respond on social media. I have to write people emails and tell them what's going on. Tell them what's going on personally if they'll listen. But then often I find those emails hitting social media. So what do? You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. What we have to do is, I believe that the current, if you read my 300-word essay, you'll find that I believe that the ARRL structure is hurting. We have this division with 13,000 members, and then we have the Dakota division with 2,800 members. Scott has more than 2,800 members in the North Florida section. That's bigger than the division of Dakota. How is it that they get one vote on the board and all of the Southeastern Division gets one vote on the board? That's not fair. I get 10 times as many emails and calls from members as those folks do. Some people ask,
1 minute.
according to the bylaws, the section manager should be handling your service costs. Finally, I think I've done a good job. I've been fair. I've been equitable. There have been things come up. I'd ask you to reach out to me at my civilian address at fishflorida@gmail.com. That's my personal email. Or give me a call at the phone at the number QSC. Send a text message to the number in QSC, and I will get back to you personally. And I appreciate your support.
Thank you. Jim, 3 minutes.
3 minutes to tell you why I think I deserve your vote, and it's complicated. I mean, we're surrounded by some people here that have an awful lot of talent, and you got to respect that. But the differentiation that I bring to the table is that I am newly minted from the industry, and I understand the industry in lots of different forms and lots of different equations. I believe that we have to change things. I believe that we have to drive change. We have to wedge change in. We can't stay the way that we are right now. I agree with Mickey. We are a very large division, and we should be leveraging that every chance we get. We need to improve that communication. We need to improve the responsiveness we have to our own members. It's a member-driven organization. I need to be hearing from members all the time. I've actually created my own service level objective for hearing from members. I've been responding to the emails and phone calls that I've been getting now after I announce my candidacy. Everything that I've done so far is on my website and on my YouTube blog, and I had to go through the E&E committee to get the YouTube blog approved, and they finally agreed that that was a rational, logical approach, which is a good thing. We moved them off of the dime there, and I know that that's a hot button for Mickey as well, that we need to do things. But I bring a fresh look to the table, and I am totally 100% committed. My wife is committed as well, to the point that she wants to travel all around the division, and the only thing that we have to do to satisfy her requirements is find some good barbecue and a cool shop. That's about the only thing that's standing in the way. The cats are even in approval, except that I had to barter with an extra ration of treats when we travel out of town. So I am 100% committed to work 100% of the time and more to make this division wonderful. I can't do it without all of your help. I need your help. I need your support, and I need your guidance. But thank you all for joining this call. Thank you for the people that put the call together. And thank you, Bill, for being an outstanding moderator. Really do appreciate it. All of you have a great evening. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Scott.
I do want to thank everybody for joining the call tonight. We've had some great questions. I've been really pleased with the comments that have been made, both in the chat and on the from the four candidates. I do want to say that I think I deserve. I know I deserve to be division director because I've got a plan. I'm already leading a division size section, and I've been doing it for well into my second term now. So I know what it means to get down in the trenches and work with people, not from an ivory tower. I do it from the trenches with everybody. I don't expect anything from members that I wouldn't do myself. I love to listen and hear input from the people in this section. And I want to do the same thing in the division, carry the voice of the division to the board meeting and have communications back and forth so that the division knows what's going on and we know what the people want and what they need. And I want to be able to help fight for our members. So just like this legislation for the HOA that we started off with, I'll end with the same thing. Please go to the website and cast your vote, so that those things are going to get printed out and those stacks of paper are going to get handed to the legislators to let them know that we want this legislation passed and we need to do that. And I want to stand alongside of everybody and walk with them as they're doing it. I've done the same thing. As soon as that link came out, I sent mine in right away, and everywhere I go, I'm promoting it. I want to do the same thing in the division. Thank you very much for being here tonight, and I look forward to being your division director.
Thank you. Tom.
Thank you. Yeah, I will echo my thanks for everyone putting this on. I know this was a bit of an ordeal to get it through the E&E committee and get all the rules set up for us, so I greatly appreciate all of you doing that. So it's interesting because I was trying to think back during this meeting if I actually heard the word fun used. And I was thinking about this, that, this is, we do this as, a lot of us do this as a hobby. Some of us do it as service or type things, but this is a hobby that we're supposed to have fun at. We get to play radio. We get to use our radios and do things with our radios and talk to people, whether it's across town or across the world. We get to do that. We get to make satellite contacts. We get to do all these different things that because of amateur radio. And we need to continue that and ensure that everybody understands it's fun. Now, as far as deserving your vote, this is one of the bad things about a campaign. You have to use the word I a lot. And I do like to when I work with my clubs, that I belong to as an officer and as a member, I work with the clubs, and it's to help people enjoy and get more out of amateur radio. Now, as I said earlier, when I read things like the minutes and I go, wait, what happened? What else happened? And because there clearly is a transparency problem and a communication problem. I'm not saying it's an intentional problem. I'm just saying that we don't have as much information as we need to get buy-in. Because if we get people buying into what the ARRL is doing, We'll get more people retaining their membership and joining the ARRL, because we'll get more people joining clubs that we're encouraging to join the ARRL. And when they say, yeah, but the ARRL did this or that, I don't want to join it on principle. It's like, we'll be able to talk about that and get past that, because right now we have a lot of people that, I mean, we talk about growing the amateur radio. We also need to concentrate seriously on retaining the members that we have, because that's an important thing too. And that is all, in my opinion, going to involve clubs. We've touched on topics like ARRS and how that fits in. So I think by bringing the skills that I have to bear, which are considerable in working with organizations and working from a business standpoint, that I can bring that to the ARRL, the board, and make those connections and work with people to get things passed. I encourage you all to vote. I would ask that you vote for me, NY4I, and I encourage you all to go to my website, ny4i.com, for more information.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I would like to thank each of the candidates. And as you can see from this, and I've been monitoring some of the chats, we've got an excellent slate of candidates. And I want to thank you personally for your willingness to do this job. It's a time-consuming job, but we really need it for, the continuation of this wonderful hobby that we're all a part of. I'd like to thank each of you that have logged in and monitored the forum tonight. Thank you for taking time out of your evening to sit here and listen to these candidates this evening. We especially appreciate the Orlando Amateur Radio Club, the Atlanta Radio Club, and the Huntsville Amateur Radio Club for facilitating the forum. Voting is currently open. You should have got an email this week with information on how to vote, and we encourage each and every one of you to vote for who you think is the best candidate to represent our wonderful southeastern part of the United States at ARRL. I'd like to say good evening to all, and 7-3.
I just want to follow up real quick that if anybody did not get an email from the ARRL that are members about the ballot, please check your spam folder. It could have possibly gone into spam. And including, I just want to sit there and say thank you to all the candidates for coming out tonight. Everybody that spent the time with us this evening. I wish we could stay longer, but I'm sure that even if we stayed longer, all the questions couldn't get answered. If your question did not get answered, I encourage you to email the candidates and ask that question to them, and so they have time to answer. And we look forward to answer other people's questions. This video cannot be posted on the internet anywhere or any place until after the election is over. Then the winner has been announced by the ARRL, and that is per the Ethics and Elections Committee. So for that, we appreciate you coming and joining us tonight, and say 73s to everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
Night.
73 all. Thank you.
Thank you.